the dressing room's a hugely important place, and that dressing room seems to be a very, very solid one. He's not going to rest in his laurels. They never look backwards. If you look backwards, you get left behind. He's come to our place, settled in very, very quickly, but I don't think you want to get carried away. I think you want to just take him for what he is. He's scoring goals, and he's different to what we had before. If he's making a decision, he's making a decision that's best for Liverpool Football Club. Anybody that had any doubts that think they might be living off last year's success was proven wrong when you saw the performance at City. As I say, the two of them are a credit to the Premier League. They've set the barrier so high. They might win the Champions League as opposed to getting beaten in the final. So if they won one of those two and lost the other three, does that mean they've had a poor season? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a very special episode of Fan Zone, the talk show for the fans, by the fans, and we're delighted to be joined by the one and only, the Liverpool legend, Sir Kenny Dalglish, journalist Matthew Crist, and I'm Callum from Team Kopish. So, Kenny, how are you doing today?
Very, very well, no problem.
Brilliant, brilliant. So we're going to start with the Community Shield. Liverpool were able to beat Manchester City 3-1 in Community Shield final, sort of to close out the pre-season. So Kenny, just wanted to get your thoughts on the game and pre-season as a whole for Liverpool Football Club.
No, the pre-season's not necessarily about results. It's about getting themselves fit and seeing what their attitude is, picking themselves up for last year. And I don't think for that extent you can't argue with what Liverpool did in the game. They started brilliantly. Maybe just getting towards half time, City picked up a wee bit. The second half, Liverpool came out with as good as they were in the first half. So I think that's the priority pre-season. Winning the Community Shield, it's not a big deal, really. I think the most important thing is you're in the Community Shield next year, because that means you've won something this year. So I think for Liverpool, it was a great day for them. Man City can say that maybe they're not quite ready or whatever, but Liverpool have got the same programme as what they've had. They've started at the same time as them. So I don't know why City would be behind Liverpool in their approach to the game. But for me, it was a fantastic performance. It was great to see a lot of people settle in quickly and produce what they've got to produce. And it was also great to see that the new people had settled in, not just with the performance on the pitch, but with the mixing with the players and how the players seem to have taken to them already. You know, like, didn't he get well received when they scored his goal. So it's a reflection on maybe some of the reasons why Liverpool were so successful last year. The fact that the dressing room's a hugely important place, and that dressing room seems to be a very, very solid one.
Obviously, one of the things you mentioned was about the new players. So from a fan's perspective, pre-season is always exciting to see who the club bring in, also who the club let go. So obviously this summer, Liverpool have signed Nunez, Carvalho, Calvin Ramsey, but also lost Sadio Mane, which is a big loss. So what are your overall thoughts of Liverpool's transfer activity, and more so, how do you feel Nunez will go on this season?
I think it was sad to lose Sadio. He was fantastic for us, and he was one of the first ones in when Jurgen came to the club. So it was disappointing to see him go, but by the way, he gave us some magnificent service. And I think for him also, he loved his time here, which seems strange maybe after moving on, but football life is about moving places for a lot of people. And there's nobody here speaks ill of him for moving. If movement wasn't part of football, he wouldn't have been at our place either. So you've just got to get on with it and accept it, and it's how you replace him that's the most important thing. And Nunez had played for Benfica during the season. played at Anfield, scored, and got one chalked off, which was when you're either offside or you're onside. But this was very, very tight call. And he played well. He played through the middle. He played on the left at sometimes and during that game. And you would have thought he was getting an interview for a job at Liverpool, because that's the two positions that obviously he must have had in their mind what they were doing with Sadio. But for him, he excelled that night. And he's come to our place, settled in very, very quickly. But I don't think we want to get carried away. I think you want to just take him for what he is. He's scoring goals, and he's different to what we had before with Sadio. So just relax a wee bit. Don't put too much pressure on him. And Cavallo is just a young boy. Did brilliantly at Fulham. Stepped in, and going away pre-season would be great for him to get in amongst people and get to know his teammates. So no, they've had a good pre-season, and they've signed good players that are going to be important to them, and it's going to make a contribution to the club, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, a lot of the talk going into the transfer window was Liverpool needing or wanting to sign a centre midfielder. It doesn't look as though that's going to happen now. Do you think that's something that will be on the radar next summer maybe, or do you think Klopp is completely settled with the options he has in midfield?
Listen, Jurgen, you could trust your life with him. So if he's making a decision, that's best for Liverpool Football Club. If that decision means that he's bringing in a central midfield player, then brilliant. If it means he thinks he's got enough there and around him, then whatever he says, you go along with. But sometimes it's about finance as well. So maybe the finance isn't there. Maybe the quality of player, which is more important than the finance, I think. Is there that he wants. So, but also he's got a few good ones in there at the moment. Thiago played very well. Keita's still there. Jordan played brilliantly against City. And Fabinho's back. But the problem is if you pick up some injuries. So he'll be well tuned into that.
Just thinking there, you're saying about going from pre-season into a new season. As a manager, how much do you look back on what happened last season? I mean, Liverpool obviously had an incredible season, ended with a bit of disappointment by not missing out on the title and the Champions League, but it's still a fantastic season. Would you, as a manager, do you look back on that and try and build and take positives, or do you just forget about that and start fresh from, well, the week before the season starts, really?
Well, it's the same thing. You just forget about it. You've got your reward for last year. Now everybody starts with a clean sheet. You've got to get your rewards for this year. So whatever happened last year was fantastic. And if he can come in this year and pick up some things, then that's brilliant. But he's not going to rest in his laurels. They never look backwards. If you look backwards, you get left behind. So they keep looking forward, and you keep having to refresh your team and your squad of players. And that's all they've done. So no, I don't think any of them will be resting in their laurels from last year. And I think that performance against City will show you that. That proves anybody that had any doubts that think they might be living off last year's success was proven wrong when they saw the performance at City.
Yeah. Do you read? I know it's Charity Shield. Some people put a lot of faith in it. Some people don't. I'm not sure whether you ever did as a player or a manager, but I mean, can you look at that performance and take much from that, or would you think, well, that's, it was a friendly essentially, so it doesn't count for much going into the new season?
Well, it may be a friendly if you want to label the Community Shield a friendly.
I wouldn't personally. Well, I would personally. I'm not sure whether you would.
But we never ever put it down on trophies that we'd won. Whether they choose to do that, I know it's up to the individual. But the performance was the thing that was most important, as I said earlier. Getting to the Charity Shield is more important about getting there for this year. By winning something this year to get there next year. So it's a bit of a barometer to see how your training's going. As I say, the result isn't as important as the performance and the advancement of the players. So I don't know how other people view it, but we always set it as a target for going back there next year.
I'm a fan of it personally. I do put a little bit of emphasis on it, and I count it as a trophy. I'm a bit shameless like that. So
I think it's.
We never won it last year.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those.
First time Jurgen's won it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of those tournaments or trophies that if you win it, you use it as a bonus, and if you don't, you maybe put it down as a learning experience. Maybe.
Well, maybe we're just fortunate that we had such a great season last year. You don't need to have it down in your CV. It's usually if they've not won anything, they put it down in their CV.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, those great teams that you were involved with, Kenny, in the years gone by, I don't remember them making a big deal of the Charity Shield because they didn't need to, essentially.
No, well, it's not to undermine it. It's important, as I keep saying, it's the important thing for you to be in it. Yeah. And that's your target at the start of the season. So you don't want to go and play in it and lose. There's nobody puts their foot on the pitch to lose.
No.
But it's not as important as the progress that you're making throughout the season.
So, Kenny, go on, ask you. Liverpool are about to start the new season. Fulham is the first game. Now, we finished second last season, a point behind Manchester City. The target is always to win the league, especially with the quality of players we have, the fact that we've got Jurgen Klopp as well. How are you feeling going into this season?
Well, last season was fantastic. And as I say, I don't think you can use that as a barometer for this season. You come into it fresh, everybody starts with no points. So everybody's starting from the same place. For us, it's just important that we turn the performance for City into the league games and the games that matter now. So every game will matter for us. Every game will be important. To expect what we got last year is a bit much, I think. I don't think anybody would have predicted us being in the shout for 4 trophies last year, albeit only coming away with 2. But it was still fantastic, the achievement they had. And I don't think that they'll give up. I think they just want to keep on improving. And their goal will be trying to improve on last year. They might not improve on the number of trophies they win, but the performances they might improve on. They might win the league this year as opposed to coming second. They might win the Champions League as opposed to getting beat in the final. So if they won one of those 2 and lost the other 3, does that mean they've had a poor season? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you offer that to anybody and they'll grab the hat. They'll grab it with 2 hands.
I think we're all expecting, or most people are expecting it to be Liverpool City again going at it for that top spot. Just thinking, what do you make of this? I suppose you call it a new rivalry between Liverpool and Manchester City. It's not a historical one. I mean, you've played in historical rivalries: Celtic, Rangers, United, Liverpool, Everton, Liverpool, United. But Liverpool and City, it's something that fans of a certain age, it's very much a new rivalry. I'm thinking back to maybe when just after you signed for Liverpool, there was a sort of a rivalry with Liverpool and Forest, wasn't there? Forest were very much in the ascendancy under Brian Clough, challenging Liverpool for titles and European trophies and cups. And I just wonder if what you think of this this new rivalry, should we call it, with between Liverpool and Manchester City?
They're there because they both deserve to be there. They're the 2 best teams. They have been for 3 or 4 years now. And if you finish above those 2, you're going to be first in the league. You're going to be champions, isn't you? And there's no many teams going to do that, if any. So they're the 2 best teams. The rivalry is important, but you can't be dismissive of the other games that you've got to play as well. And the more consistent you are, obviously the more points you win, the more games you win, the more successful you're going to be. But even last year, We played Chelsea in 2 cup finals, played them in 2 league games, and I know we won the 2 finals and penalties, but the 4 games finished in a draw.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how Chelsea will react to what the changes they've made with the selling of the club and players moving out and other guys coming in. It'll be interesting to see where they set up. But certainly for us in Man City, it's you're the 2 best teams. You thoroughly deserve to be there, first and second, and be competing better than anybody. So
I think watching.
But you can't marginalise it and say it's us a City. If you don't win your other games, you're going to be tailed off because City will win them.
I think watching the game at the weekend, the Charity Shield, it makes you realise the emphasis on that fixture in the league. Liverpool do seem to have some kind of hold over City. I mean, if you could, essentially, it looks like if you could win that fixture twice in the season, then I know you probably wouldn't agree, Kenny. You'd probably say that you've got to win all your other games that you have, but that fixture just seems so important now. I mean, you've got 6 points up for grabs. You win that game, and essentially you're in the driving seat, aren't you?
Well, if you can take points off your closest rivals, you're doing yourself a favour. It gives you a bit of leeway to cover for a slip up somewhere else. And as I say, the 2 of them are a credit to the Premier League and a credit to the owners and everybody involved with the club. They've set the barrier so high, and it would have been a Man City Liverpool final in the Champions League if for 2-3 minutes to go, City are through and they lose 2 goals.
Yeah,
they beat at Real Madrid. So I mean, that's how close it came to being an all Premiership final in the Champions League.
Yeah,
2 of them were nip and tuck, and it is important that you don't drop any, or you don't give them a start with them taking more points than you get from the league matches.
Well, talking about on that subject, obviously City and Liverpool, most people's favourites to be battling out for the title. But do you see anyone else coming out of the pack this season that might threaten the domination of those 2 teams? Anyone this summer that may have done some business you might think could be ones to watch?
I think if at the start of the season you say, who do you think, what teams are going to be in contention for trophies? And I think you say, obviously, Liverpool, City. You go down the normal one, Chelsea's, Tottenham, Arsenal. They've had a great pre-season. Manchester United. But you've not got a crystal ball. You don't know how the others are going to turn up. But I think you know what Liverpool are going to be. And I think you know what City are. And that's the only one you can concern yourself with. Just look after yourself and don't be busy looking over your shoulder. If you're looking over your shoulder, it might have a bad effect on yourself and your own performances. Get our own house in order and we'll take it from there.
Okay. So you're not too concerned from a Liverpool point of view about the likes of Tottenham, Chelsea? I think nothing there to get you too worried.
I never said, no, I never put any decision on if they were good, bad, or indifferent. I just say they're the ones you would expect to be in there competing. Everybody would name the same 6. What one would you see coming out the pack?
Yeah, I was just thinking you've got obviously a few people who fancy Tottenham. I know you, Callum, we were talking before about Tottenham being a potential threat. Done some good business in the summer.
Yeah,
Arsenal are looking good as well. So yeah, I think it could be a more open season than just the top 2 as they were last season. Maybe I think all the neutrals would hope that would be the case.
Yeah, I think Tottenham will be a pest, but I think I agree with Sir Kenny that Liverpool and Man City is still ahead of the rest, but obviously they have to prove it for another season, which will be important to do and interesting as well because the teams around have strengthened. So looking forward to that.
If you're using the game on Saturdays as a barometer, they're ahead of what the other teams are. But on the day, you could lose to them, they could lose to each other. There's that many games that you have to win. It's not just between City and Liverpool. We've isolated those 2 as the results against them is going to be hugely important in Strice and Stret. Wait a minute, I'll get that right. It'll be very important in striving to win the league. But that doesn't mean to say the other games aren't important. It's just more helpful for you to beat the ones that you think is going to be your closest rivals. And beating anybody in the top 6, you would be happy with. A couple of years ago, Liverpool had a bad run and they couldn't beat anybody in the bottom 6 during COVID. So every team's got to be given respect and will be given respect. But there's always teams that are better than the others. And you're not being disrespectful to the others. You're not being disrespectful. It's just a fact of life. And if they were having a private conversation, they would probably say the same thing.
So, Kenny, we're going to push you here and put you under the spotlight. The season's upcoming. What are your predictions? Where does Liverpool Football Club finish in the Premier League?
I think anybody that finishes above them are winning it. So, and the great thing about Liverpool is they won't rest in their laurels. They'll be up there competing, and they'll not be far away. Fulham 12:30 on Saturday is a difficult game. It's always difficult to play against a team that's just come up into the league. To play them first, you'd rather play them 2 or 3 games into the season, just so you can have a look at them. But I think we've played Norwich the twice that they've come up recently. Certainly once we did, and we beat them quite convincingly. But going to Fulham, it might not be as convincing. All we've got to do is go and win. But they've signed a lot of players as well, and we've taken one of the players, Carvalho. So, I mean, just listen. If you try your best to be your best, but don't fail because you're trying too hard. So for us, it's important just to worry about ourselves, and as the old saying goes, take each game as it comes and see how you go on. And we start on the Saturday, but then we've got we don't play again until a week on Monday.
Yeah,
for the home game. This seems a bit long, especially with the World Cup coming up, and it's shut in between November and December. So I would have thought they'd have played a midweek game, unless there's Champions League fixtures or something on next midweek. I don't know.
You can't put Kenny on the spot like that, Callum, without giving us your opinion where you think the title's
I knew this was going to come back. If I'm going to be completely honest, which I should be, I think we're one signing away from winning the league as things stand. But I don't think it's far from impossible. I think if we can get a good start on City, if City don't have a good start and we can get a good start, I think we go on to win it like we did in 1920. But I think as things stand, I think we're one player short of definitely winning it.
Fair play. Fair enough. You can't argue with that.
But I'd love us to win it for obvious reasons. So, guys, that wraps up this edition of Fan Zone. As always, if you've enjoyed the show, please like the video, subscribe, and do leave your comments below. Again, want to say a massive, massive thank you to Sir Kenny Dalglish. A massive thank you to Matthew Crist. And until we see you next time, thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you soon.